My mother is an extraordinary woman who traversed time, dedicating 2 decades to revitalizing the Marquis, breathing new life into its once-fallen prestige. The present splendor of the Yongchang Marquis is solely attributable to her meticulous stewardship. My father once vowed a lifetime of devotion to a singular partner, and the illustrious reputation of the Marquis's men, who do not take concubines, resonated throughout the capital. Yet, that fateful day arrived when my father returned from the Jiangnan region with a beguiling young woman. After 23 years devoted solely to you, I have shown all the benevolence I can muster, he declared, presenting the newcomer before my mother. Today, I shall take Su Mian as my concubine. To everyone's astonishment, the household urged my mother to be magnanimous. My grandmother stated that a man having multiple wives was a common occurrence, while my aunt subtly mocked my mother for her jealousy. Even my 2 elder brothers remained silent. With an air of serene acceptance, my mother simply smiled and replied, "Very well." Little did they know that this seemingly isolated and unsupported woman from another time had already resolved her course of action in silence. While my father reveled in the affection of his new concubine, my mother had quietly departed, taking with her the very essence that sustained the Marquis. Shops shuttered, connections severed, officials lodged complaints, and the household fell into disarray. When the throng stumbled into my mother's courtyard, they found a solitary note left upon the table. 2 decades of devotion, all washed away. Today we part ways, and in life or death, we shall not meet again. And that daughter of the Marquis, once perceived as a mere pawn, gazed coldly upon the grand cage that was her home as it slowly crumbled around her. 01. I find myself seated in my mother's study, observing as she instructs me on how to reconcile accounts with an abacus. Her fingers, long and fair, dance gracefully across the ebony surface of the abacus, effortlessly manipulating the numbers that perpetually elude me. "Zhao, do you comprehend?" Mother inquires, glancing up at me with a gentle curve at the corners of her eyes. Though she has reached the age of 40, her almond-shaped eyes retain the brightness of youth, albeit adorned with a few delicate lines at the corners. Just as I am about to respond, a sudden commotion erupts from outside. In a flurry, my personal maid, Lingya, bursts into the room. "Miss, the Marquis has returned," she exclaims breathlessly, and he is accompanied by a young lady. Mother's fingers pause on the abacus. "I understand," she replies calmly, methodically putting away the account books. "Lingya, please inform the matriarch that the Marquis has returned home." As I follow my mother out of the study, I cannot help but grasp the sleeve of her garment. "Mother," she halts, turning to adjust my collar. "Zhao, remember what I have taught you. Regardless of what transpires, maintain your composure." Her tranquil demeanor offers me a modicum of solace. Upon reaching the main hall, we find it already filled with guests. My father, clad in a deep blue brocade robe, appears weary yet vibrant. Beside him stands a young woman, perhaps 17 or 18, draped in a delicate pink gown. Her skin as smooth as jade, her eyes shimmering with life. "The lady of the house has arrived," my father announces with a smile upon seeing us. Though the expression feels unfamiliar to me, he steps forward, holding the young woman's hand. "This is Su Mian, whom I encountered in Yangzhou. Her father was a renowned silk merchant. Though his family has fallen on hard times, my gaze is drawn to their intertwined hands. My father's are broad and strong, while hers are slender and delicate, adorned with softly tinted nail polish. What does the Marquis mean by this?" Mother's voice remains steady, though I can see her hand clenched tightly within her sleeve. Father clears his throat. "My dear wife, I have devoted over 20 years solely to you. I believe I have fulfilled my duties. Su Mian is gentle and gracious. I wish to take her as my concubine." A profound silence envelopes the room. "Nonsense." Grandmother's voice pierces through the air as she enters, leaning on a sandalwood cane, supported by a maid. I had anticipated a reprimand for father, but instead, she strides directly to mother. "It is common for men to have multiple wives. You have monopolized my son for over 20 years. Surely, you must be satisfied." Mother straightens her back. "Mother, when the Marquis sought my hand in marriage, he vowed never to take a concubine. Those were the foolish words of youth." Grandmother strikes the ground with her cane. "Now that the Marquis's household flourishes, expanding the family is the sensible course." My second aunt has appeared by this time, her face artificially cheerful. "Elder sister-in-law, be magnanimous. Do not make it difficult for the Marquis. This Miss Su Mian seems amiable enough. She will not cause you any trouble. I turn to observe my two elder brothers standing in the corner. The eldest, Shun Qingming, bows his head, absent-mindedly toying with the jade pendant at his waist. The second, Shin Qinghui, gazes intently at the ground, as if it holds something of great interest. Neither speaks. Father S' expression gradually darkens. My dear wife, you know well how I have treated you over the years. The Marquis household owes its current standing in part to your efforts, yet do not forget your own origins. I sense the implication behind Father S' words. Mother is not of noble lineage, but rather a mysterious orphan who appeared in the capital 20 years ago. Pain flickers in Mother S' eyes. Yet she quickly regains her composure. She scans the room, her gaze finally settling on Father S' face. Very well. The single word, uttered softly, resonates heavily, leaving everyone momentarily speechless. Father, taken aback by her swift acquiescence, wears a look of surprise that soon morphs into a satisfied smile. Indeed, my wife is reasonable. He embraces Su Mian's slender waist. Su Mian, are you not to express your gratitude to the lady of the house? Su Mian promptly bows gracefully, her voice as gentle as a babbling brook. I pay my respects to the lady of the house. I shall devote myself to serving you henceforth. Mother raises her hand to halt her. There is no need. Turning to father, she states, I am unwell. I shall retire to my chamber. Zhao, come with me. I hastily follow my mother, hearing grandmother S' disdainful snort and my second aunt S' whispered remarks behind us. How pretentious. As if she possesses any real power. 02. Exiting the main hall and traversing the corridor, my mother S' pace quickens. Upon reaching her courtyard, she instructs Xiaozhu, close the door. Tell anyone who comes that I am resting. Xiaozhu casts a worried glance at mother before silently retreating. The room now holds only the two of us. Mother. I finally can no longer contain myself. Tears spill from my eyes. Yet mother smiles. She pulls me to sit beside her on the soft couch by the window, gently wiping away my tears. Silly child. Why are you crying? How can he when a man's heart wanders? It is as inevitable as the rain. It cannot be stopped. Mother S' voice is soft yet profoundly resolute. I look up at her and find her gaze clear and unflustered. At that moment, I realize she seems to have anticipated this day long before. Zhao, do you recall what the first lesson your mother taught you is? I sniffle. That a woman may be gentle, but must never be weak. Mother tenderly strokes my hair. Then what do you believe I should do? I am taken aback. According to convention, the legitimate wife either endures in silence or raises a great uproar. Yet mother, did you have a plan all along? Mother does not respond directly. Instead, she retrieves a small bronze key from her sleeve. This is the key to my private vault at the money exchange in the southern part of the city. It contains certain items. It is time I pass it to you. I accept the key, feeling its weight, which conveys not only its physical heaviness, but also an indescribable significance. And as for Zhao Mama, mother continues, from today onward, she will accompany you. I gaze at mother in astonishment. But Zhao Mama has always served you. Zhao Mama has been with me for decades. Mother lowers her voice.
How yeah?
She can protect you and teach you many things. I wish to inquire further, but footsteps approach from outside. Mother gestures for silence. Madam, it is Xia, Zhu's voice. The Marquis has sent someone to inquire if you will join for dinner. Mother scoffs coldly. Tell him I am unwell and shall not attend. After Xiaozhu departs, Mother exhales deeply, her expression a complex mixture of emotions as she gazes at me. Zhao, the days ahead may become quite tumultuous within the household. No matter what happens, you must remain calm. Do you understand? I nod earnestly, though my heart brims with confusion. It seems Mother S' words conceal some significant decision. Yet I cannot fully grasp it. That night, I lay awake, restless. 03. On the day of the concubine's installation, the Marquis' residence is adorned with lanterns and festooned with celebratory decorations. I stand beneath the corridor, watching the servants bustle about preparing the wedding hall. Bright coral silk cascades from the main entrance to the flower hall, while the corridors are festooned with jubilant lanterns. The grandeur of this occasion surpasses that of a typical wedding for a legitimate wife. Miss, what are you doing here? Lingye rushes over. The auspicious hour is fast approaching. The Marquis has summoned everyone to the front hall to witness the ceremony. I inquire, has my mother gone? Lingya shakes her head. The lady said she was unwell and would not attend. Just then, a clamor arises from the front courtyard. Upon arriving there, I see father leading the newly adorned Su Yinyang into the hall. He scans the room, his expression darkening instantly. Where is my wife? My second aunt immediately interjects. Elder sister-in-law said she was unwell and would not be attending the ceremony. Father's countenance grows grim, yet he refrains from expressing his displeasure in front of the assembled guests. The lively banquet continues until darkness falls. The next morning, just as dawn breaks, I am roused by a commotion. What is happening? I throw on my clothes and rise. Lingya rushes in, breathless. Miss. Su Yinyang went to pay her respects to the lady of the house, but was stopped by Xia Zhu at the courtyard. In a hurried state, I hastily groomed myself and rushed to the courtyard, only to find Aunt Su kneeling outside the gate, weeping profusely, her tears resembling the delicate petals of a pear blossom. Today, she had donned a simple attire, adorned only with a silk flower in her hair, presenting a pitiable sight. Madam, I am aware that you are displeased. She stammered through her sobs, yet insisted. One must adhere to propriety. I have come today to serve you tea. The courtyard door remained tightly shut, with not a sound emerging from within. Upon hearing the commotion, father arrived and, witnessing the scene, his expression turned ashen. He hastily assisted Aunt Su to her feet and tenderly wiped her tears, exclaiming, "What is the meaning of this?" Taking advantage of his embrace, Aunt Su collapsed into his arms, her cries intensifying. "My lord, it is all my fault. The madam refuses to see me. I shall gather my belongings and return to Jiangnan. I cannot allow my presence to cause discord between you and the madam." Preposterous, father retorted sharply. "Once you have entered the gates of the Yongchang Marquis, you are one of us." He then directed his ire towards the closed door, raising his voice. "Madam, is this how you conduct yourself as the lady of the house? Allowing a newly admitted concubine to kneel outside? What would the world think?" Silence reigned within the courtyard. Father's countenance darkened further, until in a fit of rage, he kicked the door open, exclaiming, "Very well. If you are so unaware of your station, then never show your face again." He turned and embraced Aunt Su, declaring, "Come, let us return. From this day forth, no one shall enter or exit this courtyard without my permission." With a timid glance back at Mother's courtyard, Aunt Su offered a triumphant smile. I observed their departing figures with a cold gaze and turned to Lingya, instructing, "Go inform Xia Zhu to keep a close watch over Mother in the coming days." Lingya, concerned, asked, "Miss, what about the madam?" "Do not worry," I replied softly. "Mother will be just fine." That evening, when I visited Mother, I found her leisurely seated by the window, engrossed in a book, a selection of exquisite pastries, and a pot of hot tea laid out before her. Entirely unbothered by her confinement. "You have arrived?" she remarked without lifting her head. "Do try this Longjing tea. It is freshly sourced." Taking the teacup, I asked Mother, "Are you not angry?" With a light laugh, she replied, "Angry? I am positively delighted." She gestured towards several neatly packed boxes in the corner, explaining, "This is a perfect opportunity to finalize matters that require my attention." It was then I noticed many of her cherished belongings were conspicuously absent. "Mother, what is this?" I inquired, as she rose and retrieved a wooden box from the table. "These are the land deeds for 4 silk shops in the south, 2 rice merchants, and the deed for the tea garden in the west." My gaze followed her finger, each deed bearing a vivid red official seal. Over the years, it was these seemingly insignificant papers that upheld the grandeur of the Yongchang Marquis. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, bewildered. From the depths of the box, she produced a smooth white jade seal, saying, "Take this. With it, you may command 12 merchant houses in Jiangnan." The seal felt warm in my hand, yet its weight was overwhelming, for it was a personal seal Mother had never parted with, even from father. "What is the meaning of this?" I stammered, my voice quivering. "Zhaoer, I am not from here," she began to reminisce. "On a rainy night 24 years ago, I opened my eyes and found myself here." I was taken aback. Her words seemed absurd, yet her earnestness left no room for doubt. "You have heard the servants speak of the state of the Marquis back then," she continued. "The treasury could barely sustain 3 months' expenses, and the field had yielded little for years. I was aware of this. The old servants often whispered that the family's wealth was solely managed by mother. I employed some rather unconventional methods, she chuckled lightly. Methods that do not align with the understanding of this era. I was initially quite lost, she sighed, but I had a task to fulfill. A task? To restore the Yongchang Marquis to its former glory, which also serves as my fair home. Her gaze grew distant as she added, eventually for your father. I chose to remain. The distant sound of drums roused her from her reverie. Zhaoer, all of this is now entrusted to you. My palms grew clammy with sweat. Where are you going? Home. Mother gazed out at the bright moon, to return to where I truly belong. And father? She laughed softly. It was the first time I had seen such a mocking expression on her face. He will soon realize that the wealth of the Yongchang Marquis was never acquired without effort. Once more, she retrieved a delicate copper key. This is the key to the capital's Hui money house, where enough gold and silver is stored to last you 3 lifetimes. Mother, I cried, rushing into her embrace. Take me with you. She gently stroked my hair. Silly child, you have your own path to tread. As dawn broke, I found myself seated at the dressing table, while Lingye carefully combed my hair with a jade comb. Miss, did you not sleep well last night? Lingye inquired softly. I gazed out at the lightning sky without responding. Mother had left 3 days prior, yet no one in the household seemed to notice anything amiss. Come, it is time to pay respects to grandmother. As I stepped out of the courtyard, a peal of laughter reached my ears. Aunt Sue, clad in a brand new apricot red dress, was linked arm in arm with father. Making their way towards me, the sunlight glinted off the gold hairpin in her hair, dazzling to the eye. Oh, is that not the third miss? Aunt Sue released father and curtsied towards me. Today, her hair was styled in the fashionable snake bun, adorned with fresh jasmine blossoms that emitted a sweet fragrance. I am quite troubled. I must prepare for the old lady's birthday celebrations. I looked at her affected demeanor, a wave of nausea rising within me. Yet father, with an indulgent smile, patted her hand. You are simply too courteous. These matters will be taken care of by the stewards. Aunt Sue covered her mouth with a gentle laugh. My lord is jesting. As a newcomer, I fear making mistakes and bringing shame upon the Marquis. Her eyes sparkled as she lowered her voice. By the way, the madam has not received guests these past few days. Could it be that she is unwell? I wish to pay my respects and serve her tea, but I fear I may disturb her peace. Father's expression darkened instantly. There is no need to concern yourself with her. For too long, I have indulged her, and now she has become increasingly ungrateful. Zhaoer. Father turned to me. Inform your mother that if she continues to act this way, she should not blame me. My lord. Aunt Sue gasped softly. Is that not Xiaozhu? At the end of the corridor, Xiaozhu hurried by, carrying a food box. Father narrowed his eyes. Humph, do not pay her any mind. I am curious to see how long she will continue this little game. Father, I shall take my leave. I said nothing in response, merely bowed and exited. As I turned the corner, I encountered my second aunt. She had been dressing quite elaborately of late, and today was no exception. Her deep purple garment adorned with intricate patterns, a golden phoenix hairpin nestled in her hair. Oh, Zhaojia, what troubles you? You look rather pale. My second aunt grasped my hand with concern. Are you worried about your mother? I must say, women ought to be more yielding. It is only natural for the lord to take a concubine. Your mother's sulking only makes her seem petty. I gently withdrew my hand. Second aunt, you worry too much. My mother merely caught a cold and needs rest. Is that so? She smiled knowingly. Then it is fortuitous. The old lady has decreed that since the madam is unwell, I shall temporarily take charge of the household. She jingled a set of keys in her hand, revealing that the keys to the storeroom had already been handed over to her. My brows furrowed. The household's resources falling into the hands of this short-sighted second aunt? It promised to be quite the spectacle. By the way she stepped closer, I heard your mother has taken the account books from several shops in the south. The old lady asked me to inquire when they will be returned. She continued her incessant murmuring, causing me to furrow my brow. Those shops in the southern part of the city are my mother's private property. Why should they be surrendered? My second aunt curled her lip in disbelief, but refrained from pressing the matter further. With a dismissive huff, she swayed her waist and made her way toward the storeroom. As I stepped across the threshold of Songha Hall, a cascade of laughter greeted me from within. Aunt Sue had arrived at some point, kneeling beside my grandmother, diligently massaging her legs. "Grandmother, peace be upon you," I greeted respectfully. My grandmother squinted her eyes in enjoyment, lazily raising her eyelids. "Zhao girl has come? Where is your mother? Still sulking?" I lowered my gaze and replied, "Mother has been unwell lately and seldom leaves her quarters." Upon hearing this, my grandmother huffed lightly. "What ailment? Is over 20 years of being the sole favorite not enough? Now she dares to put on airs. You go back and tell her that if this continues, her position as the main wife." "Old madam," Aunt Sue interjected sweetly, "please do not say such things. Perhaps the madam is merely taking time to adjust." "Listen to her, such a considerate girl," my grandmother remarked, patting Aunt Sue's hand, "far superior to your mother." At that moment, the sound of footsteps approached, and my 2 elder brothers entered one after the other. "Grandson pays his respects to grandmother," my eldest brother said with utmost reverence. At 22, he had already secured a position in the Ministry of War. Now, he frequently cast sidelong glances at Aunt Sue, his expression a tapestry of complexity.
"Ah, Ming."
Just in time, my grandmother beckoned for my elder brother to step forward. "Your father has said that your current position is quite commendable. You must devote more effort to it." He nodded in agreement. "Grandson understands, yet this matter has always been managed by mother." My grandmother's expression darkened. "What? With your mother gone, the marquee cannot function? If there is anything required, consult your second aunt. All expenses in the residence are now under her purview." I gazed coldly at the farcical scene unfolding in the mansion, feeling both absurd and amused. They all eyed my mother's assets like ravenous wolves, unaware that the true treasure had long since departed the marquee. As I left Songha Hall, my elder brother caught up to me. "Third sister, how is mother faring?" I halted, scrutinizing this brother, who shared my mother. Concern flickered in his eyes, but it was overshadowed by his own ambitions. If he truly cared, why not visit her himself? An awkward expression crossed his face. "Father has decreed that we must not disturb mother's rest." "Is that so?" I chuckled lightly. "Then you should heed father's words." As I turned to depart, I heard him sigh behind me. "Third sister, do not emulate mother. Such stubbornness will ultimately require reliance on father and brothers." I refrained from glancing back. The afternoon sun blazed fiercely, prompting me to take a detour to my mother's quarters. Xiaozhu sat drowsily on the porch, quickly rising upon my arrival. "Miss, what brings you here?" I glanced at the tightly shut door. "Has anyone visited in the past few days?" Xiaozhu shook her head. "Aside from the maid delivering meals, no one has approached." I nodded, and was about to leave when I heard footsteps outside the wall. The madam is simply too strong-willed. It was the voice of Granny Lee from the kitchen. What of the Marquis taking a concubine? Which noble family does not have multiple wives? Indeed, another maid chimed in. "I hear that Aunt Sue has garnered the Marquis and old madam's favor. It seems the household is on the brink of upheaval." Their voices gradually faded away. Just then, I heard a light cough behind me. I turned to see my father standing at the entrance, his expression grim. "Who permitted you to come here?" I stepped forward, performing a respectful bow. Daughter wished to pay her respects to mother. Upon hearing this, my father's face darkened further. "Humph. Do not go. I wish to see how long she can maintain her defiance." With that, he swished his sleeve and departed. I watched his retreating figure, feeling a pang of discomfort. He remained angry over my mother's obstinacy, still waiting for the outcome of this marital struggle, unaware that she had already relinquished all ties and returned to the world that truly belonged to her. Returning to the courtyard, I found Granny Zhao organizing the accounts. Noticing my entrance, she paused her task. "Miss, the old servant is checked. The second lady has transferred 3 stewards from the treasury today, replacing them with her maternal relatives." Granny Zhao flipped open the ledger, pointing to a page. "According to the madam's arrangements, in 1 month's time, when the Marquis silk shop settles its accounts, if the madam's seal is not present, the merchants from Jiangnan will not recognize the accounts." As I gazed at the contents of the ledger, I suddenly recalled my father's sarcastic remark. "Where can your mother go besides the Marquis?" Now I understood the answer. In this vast world, where could she not go? A month passed, and the Marquis began to descend into chaos. I sat in a corner of the flower hall, observing as my second aunt slammed a stack of account books onto the sandalwood table. How can these accounts not reconcile? Her voice pierced the air sharply. The silk shop in the western part of the city clearly showed a surplus last month. How is it that this month there is not even 100 taels? Kneeling on the ground, Steward Wang's forehead glistened with beads of sweat. In response to the second lady, previously it was the Marquis who personally handled the matters. Ever since she fell ill, the merchants from Jiangnan and our old customers have sought other avenues. My second aunt's eyes widened in fury as she seized a teacup from the table and hurled it to the ground, shards flying, startling Steward Wang into shrinking back. Humph. Just a bunch of opportunistic sycophants. Does the silk shop cease to operate without these people? Tell me, what remedy exists now? We cannot simply watch the silver flow away. Steward Wang gulped nervously, trembling as he produced a piece of paper from his sleeve. Second lady, I dare to propose an idea. This is a list of shops we have collaborated with for years, a few of them due to their connection with the Marquis if we could. Before he could finish, my second aunt interrupted. Connection? Stand up. If that is the case, you will accompany me tomorrow to meet these people. If we still cannot reach an agreement. Her gaze swept across the numbers in the ledger. Do not blame me for tossing you into the abyss to fill the gaps in these accounts. Steward Wang's face turned ashen. I will do my utmost. I lifted the teacup to conceal my amusement. Ever since my second aunt took charge, she had replaced 7 or 8 stewards, all of whom were her maternal relatives. Unfortunately, these individuals, while appearing competent, were utterly inept, focused solely on enriching themselves and neglecting the management of the shops, leaving the accounts in disarray. Second lady, bad news. A maid rushed in, flustered. The kitchen reports that today's vegetables and fresh fish haven't arrived. The meat vendor insists on immediate payment to supply goods. My second aunt's expression darkened. Was it not always on a monthly basis? What do those shopkeepers have to say? The maid timidly glanced at me. They have always only recognized the madam seal. My second aunt slammed her palm onto the table. This is outrageous. Go tell those insufferable scoundrels that I am now in charge of the Marquis. The maid, terrified, repeatedly acknowledged and cautiously retreated. I set down my teacup, feigning concern. Second lady, should I inform mother? No need, my second aunt snapped, her temper flaring like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Since your mother is ill, let her rest well. I can handle this trifling matter myself. She turned to a nearby maid. Go to my room and fetch 50 taels of silver. Let us settle today's expenses. I lowered my eyelids, concealing my scorn. How long could my second aunt's pretense endure? Upon returning to my own courtyard, Granny Zhao approached. Miss, everything you instructed has been arranged. The second master went to Yihong building early today. Granny Zhao poured me a cup of tea. He should be back by now. Oh, by the way, I suddenly recalled something. Has there been any news from Aunt Sue? Granny Zhao chuckled. That lady has been quite busy these past few days, delivering soup to the Marquis' study daily. This morning, she even donned a silk dress, claiming she wished to pray for the madam. Aunt Sue is quite the actress, fully aware that father is currently in a fit of anger. She deliberately presents herself as a gentle and charming flower of understanding. Just as she speaks, Lingya enters from the outer chamber. Miss, the second master has returned home, and he has brought a young lady with him. Zhao Mama and I exchange glances, knowing that the drama is about to unfold. The front courtyard is already in disarray. Uncle Tu, reeking of alcohol, is embracing a young woman clad in a green garment, standing in the center of the courtyard. The girl possesses willow-like brows and apricot-shaped eyes, coyly hiding behind Uncle Tu. You've gone too far, comes the shrill cry of Aunt Tu, echoing outside the courtyard. What filthy creature dares to enter our home? Uncle Tu, tipsy, lets out a burp. What is all the fuss about? If my elder brother can take a concubine, why can't I? Honglu is far more gentle than you. The girl, named Honglu, timely reddens her eyes, tugging at Uncle Tu's sleeve, softly saying, Second master, please don't be angry on my account. I shall leave right away. Leave? Where do you think you're going? Uncle Tu firmly grasps her, declaring, Today, I shall give you a proper title. Aunt Tu, trembling with rage, has her hairpin ask you, You heartless wretch. I manage the household for you, and you keep a vixen outside and bring her into our home. With that, she lunges for Honglu, exclaiming, I will tear your seductive face apart. The scene instantly devolves into chaos. Uncle Tu stands in front of Honglu, pushing Aunt Tu aside, who falls to the ground, her hair disheveled, wailing like a madwoman. What's all this racket? Father arrives, his face darkened. Uncle too changes his tone. Elder brother, you must judge this matter. I merely brought a dear companion home, and this shrew wants to hit and kill. Father frowns at Honglu but does not immediately object. I stand behind the pillar, pondering that father likely believes since he has taken a concubine, he has no grounds to prevent his brother.
Silence.
Father admonishes. What kind of decorum is this for a noble household? He turns to Aunt Tu. Enough of your tantrums. If the second son likes her, let him keep her in his quarters. Crying and wailing, what kind of behavior is that? Aunt Tu appears as if struck by lightning, her makeup running down her face. My lord, how can you? Father, impatient, waves his hand. Enough, this matter is settled. He turns to leave but pauses. By the way, how is the lady's health? All eyes turn to me. I lower my head, softly stating, Mother still refuses to see anyone. Father snorts coldly, let her be. When she comes to her senses, she may emerge. Once everyone disperses, I stand alone in the courtyard. And Zhao Mama silently appears beside me. Miss, the shopkeepers from the rice, cloth, and tea businesses will come tomorrow to demand payment. I nod. What about Aunt Tu? I have already inquired. She has spent all her personal silver to cover her debts and has even pawned several of her own jewels. I gaze towards Uncle Tu's courtyard, where the sounds of crashing objects and Aunt Tu's hysterical cries faintly reach my ears. Not enough, I whisper. Have the moneylender send someone to demand payment tomorrow, stating that the 5,000 taels borrowed last year from the Ho residence is due. Zhao Mama comprehends. I shall arrange that immediately. Back in my chamber, I retrieve the notes left by my mother. Each name within represents the connection she cultivated over many years. Now, they have become my pawns. The following day, before the morning mist has fully dissipated, the Ho residence is in utter chaos. I stand beneath the corridor, observing several managing matrons scurrying about in a frenzy. The head cook is loudly berating a young maid. Useless creature, can't you even procure a bit of bird's nest? Is the old lady's bird's nest porridge still to be made? Madam, the young maid replies in a tearful tone. Manager Lee from Xian Hall says we owe 2 months' payment, and if it's not settled, he won't even give us the scraps of bird's nest. Nonsense. Manager Lee receives a slap in response. Will the esteemed Yongchang Ho residents owe him for a few bird's nests? I shake my fan and chuckle lightly, resembling the white-faced villain from the stage. Such scenes are continuously unfolding throughout the Ho residence today. The supply chains are constricted, becoming increasingly difficult by the hour. Miss Lingye whispers, I heard that the home master is furious and intends to summon the lady to take charge of the household. I raise an eyebrow. Oh, father has finally remembered? Just then, a commotion of hurried footsteps approaches. Father strides forward, his expression dark, flanked by Uncle Tu, 2 elder brothers, and the sorrowful Aunt Tu and Sue Aunt.
Oh, yeah.
Father catches sight of me. You are just in time. Come with me to see your mother. I feign surprise. What is this, father? Humph. He flicks his sleeve. With a household in such disarray, she manages to remain secluded. Today, she must come out. Uncle Tu chimes in. Elder sister-in-law should indeed temper her temper. Aunt Tu immediately concurs. Yes, it has been over a month, and she still sulks. With hundreds of mouths to feed in the Ho residence, we cannot afford to remain in chaos indefinitely. I lower my gaze, concealing the mockery in my eyes, silently trailing behind this group. Since taking charge, Aunt Tu has first dismissed the steward my mother painstakingly cultivated, then extravagantly squandered to please various factions. When grandmother casually mentioned a fondness for Nanhai pearls, she promptly bought an entire box. If father enjoys preaching Longjing tea, she spares no expense to procure it at exorbitant prices. The extravagance of the second house has only escalated, depleting the already meager savings of the Ho residence.
Now,
with resources running thin, she suddenly remembers mother's worth. Sue Aunt lags behind a few steps, leaning close to me. Third miss, do not worry. I shall assist in persuading the home master. I can hardly be bothered to give her a glance. Mother's courtyard is now seldom visited, appearing somewhat desolate. As we arrive at the courtyard door, father impatiently gestures, break the door down. 2 sturdy matrons immediately step forward, forcefully ramming against the tightly closed door. With a loud crash, the latch snaps. Inside the courtyard, silence prevails. Only the sound of the wind rustling fallen leaves can be heard. Father strides in, calling out, "Madam, if you've had enough of this ruckus, come out. The household is all ready." His voice abruptly halts. I stand at the back of the crowd, observing Father's rigid figure. The courtyard presents a desolate scene, leaves strewn across the ground, uncleaned, the flower beds wilted, and the parrot cage empty. Mother's beloved green parrot is nowhere to be seen. This cannot be. Father's voice begins to tremble. He swiftly approaches the main room, forcefully pushing the door open. A cloud of fine dust envelopes him. I follow the crowd into the room, watching their stunned expressions. A wave of inexplicable delight surges within me. The bedding on Mother's bed is neatly arranged, yet not a trace of having been slept in can be found. The bronze mirror on the dressing table is coated with a thin layer of dust, the jewelry box is empty, and the books on the shelf have entirely vanished. Where has she gone? Father bellows, "Xia Zhu! Xia Zhu!" No one responds. Aunt Tu gasps, pulling out a piece of paper from the vanity. "My lord, there is a letter." Father snatches it away, revealing 2 lines of swirling script. 20 years of effort, all in vain. Today's farewell, never to meet again. Father's hand trembles slightly, and the paper floats down to the ground. "Search. Turn the entire capital upside down." He erupts in fury, kicking over a nearby low table. Tea wears shattering across the floor. A woman of the inner chamber. Where could she possibly run off to? Uncle Tu picks up the note, his complexion shifting. Elder brother this. Grandmother arrives, leaning heavily on her cane. This is insurrection. Truly insurrection. How dare a mere woman escape without permission? Report to the authorities. Immediately report to the authorities. Yet Father seems deaf to her words, standing dazed before Mother's vacant vanity. "It's impossible," Father murmured to himself, his voice tinged with a bewilderment I had never before encountered. Where could she go after leaving the Marquis' residence? She had nothing. Aunt Sue approached cautiously, saying, "My lord, do not fret. Perhaps the lady has merely stepped out for a breath of fresh air. Get away." Father thrust her aside with such force that Aunt Sue stumbled and fell to the ground, her hairpin scattering. He sank down before Mother's vanity, his trembling hands gliding over the thin layer of dust that had settled there. How could she dare? How could she dare? A mere woman. Where could she possibly go after abandoning the Marquis' estate? She had no family to return to. His shaking hand grasped the horn comb that Mother often used, still entwined with a few strands of her hair. In her time, she had nowhere to take refuge. Father continued to speak softly, as if addressing us yet also speaking to himself. It was I who granted her status, who provided her a place to belong. Indeed, what a generous bestowal it was. A girl of unknown origins, elevated to the status of the Marquis' lady, she ought to be eternally grateful. Those shops, those enterprises. Father's agitation surged inexplicably. It was all thanks to the Marquis' name that she was able to thrive. Without the everlasting Marquis, she was not. Even at this moment, he still believed that all of Mother's accomplishments were merely reflections of the Marquis' prestige. He was right. My voice dripped with uncontainable sarcasm. Mother was indeed nothing. She merely transformed the Marquis' estate from a state of crippling debt to one of immense wealth, enabling you to rise from obscurity to a position of significant influence in the court. Silence. Father roared, hurling the horn comb to the ground. What do you understand? I ceased my words, merely observing as he spiraled into madness. Father paced the room like a caged beast before finally collapsing onto the floor. She truly no longer wants me, nor this family. I gazed at him, thinking that he had finally come to realize the truth. She would return. Father murmured again, she cannot escape the Marquis. Once she has tasted enough hardship outside, she will inevitably come back to plead with me. I could no longer contain my amusement and let out a soft laugh. Father shot me a ferocious glare. What are you laughing at? Nothing. I turned toward the door, recalling a phrase Mother often said, with the vast sky and the boundless earth, where can one not go? Having spoken, I disregarded Father's furious outburst and departed. That day, when everyone finally realized Mother had left, Father dispatched several groups of men that very night, scouring the nearby ferry ports, inns, and the temples she frequented, yet they found nothing. Mississippi. Lingye hurried over, her cheeks flushed from rapid breaths. Something grave has occurred in the front courtyard.
I glänzte her.
What could have you so flustered? Lingye leaned closer, whispering. I overheard the steward who went out to buy supplies say that this morning, during the court session, Minister Li publicly accused the Marquis of favoring his concubine over his wife, corrupting moral integrity. It is said the emperor was furious and reprimanded the Marquis on the spot, even docking his salary for half a year. The incident of father forcibly entering mother's courtyard had indeed reached the court. Those old scholars of the censorate, who held propriety in the highest regard, would not let such a scandal slip by. Has father returned to the estate? Just arrived, looking frightfully pale. Lingye shrank back. Second master has also returned. As soon as they entered, they headed straight for the study, sending the servants away. I nodded, signaling Lingye to withdraw. As I turned, I caught sight of Aunt Sue hiding behind a pillar, her once rosy face now ashen. This usually haughty concubine now resembled a frightened rabbit, scarcely daring to breathe. As I reached the courtyard, a loud crash erupted from the direction of the study, as if something heavy had fallen, followed by father's frantic bellowing. Rebellion. Absolute rebellion. A mere seventh-rank censor dares to accuse me. I approached stealthily, peering through the half-open window to see father standing before the desk, his face ashen, surrounded by shattered inkstones and splattered ink. My uncle wiped the sweat from his brow. Eldest brother, be calm. My uncle's voice trembled. I have just received word that the emperor has issued an edict suspending your duties, stating that you are to reflect in solitude. Father staggered, nearly losing his balance, and had to brace himself against the desk to avoid falling. For years, father had thrived in the court, reliant upon mother's clandestine management of various connections. Now that she was gone, those ties had naturally frayed. If not for her sudden departure, how could such disgraceful matters have arisen? Father regained his composure. Was the lady truly so heartless? Look, even at this juncture, he was casting blame upon mother. Father, be cautious with your words. I pushed the door open, entering. Before mother departed, you explicitly stated that apart from the Marquis, where else could she go? Father was startled by my sudden appearance, his face shifting from pale to a deep shade of red. My uncle hurried to mediate, saying, Zhao girl, perhaps you should refrain from speaking too much. The situation in the residence is dire, and your father is also suffering.
Dire?
I gazed at my uncle in astonishment. Did not my aunt always boast that she managed the household far better than mother? Just the other day, I heard her bragging about how many new garments she had bought for grandmother this month and how many new ornaments she had given Aunt Sue. My uncle's expression immediately transformed into one of discomfort. Returning to my own courtyard, I sat quietly by the window. Lingye brought me some tea and snacks, but was stopped by Granny Zhao. The young lady needs some peace, Granny Zhao said softly, sending everyone away. Young lady. Granny Zhao hesitated, wanting to say something but stopping short. I shook my head, signaling her not to elaborate. Granny Zhao, do you think they will take action against me? Granny Zhao paused for a moment before responding. You are the legitimate daughter of the Marquis. For now, they will not act against you. But this old servant fears they will use my marriage as a bargaining chip? I sighed. Indeed, given the current decline of the Marquis, a marriage alliance is the best way out. Granny Zhao lowered her voice. The lady has already anticipated this and has made arrangements for you, should anything untoward happen. Granny Zhao, please be especially vigilant regarding the movements within the estate over the next few days, particularly concerning grandmother and aunt. Granny Zhao nodded in understanding. This old servant comprehends. As evening approached, indeed, a maid came to inform me that the old lady wished to see me. I adjusted my attire and followed her to the Pine Crane Hall. Upon entering, I found grandmother seated with a stern expression in the main seat, while aunt sat beside her, wearing a look of schadenfreude. To my surprise, the stewardess from the princess's residence was also present. Granddaughter pays her respects to grandmother, I said dutifully, bowing. Grandmother squinted at me, scrutinizing my face. Zhao girl, you are 16 this year, correct? Yes, grandmother, I will be 17 after the new year. It is time for you to consider marriage. Grandmother twirled the Buddhist beads in her hand. The princess's residence sent word a few days ago that their second son is quite taken with you. I understood immediately, though I maintained a calm exterior. It was common knowledge that the second son of the princess was a notorious debauchee, already keeping several beautiful concubines within his estate, indulging in nightly revelry. Outside, he was known for frequenting brothels, engaging in affairs with courtesans, his scandalous exploits the talk of the capital. What noble daughter had not been raised in luxury and affection? Such a libertine, even with royal lineage, would have families shaking their heads at the prospect of marrying their daughters into the marquee, fearing they would end up alone, suffering indignities. Grandmother, mother is still. No matter, grandmother interrupted, raising her hand to silence me. You need not concern yourself with this matter. I have my arrangements. Grandmother's eagerness to agree was merely a tactic to exchange my marriage for the financial and social connections that the marquis desperately needed. In their eyes, I was nothing more than a bargaining chip. I looked up, meeting my aunt's gaze. She seemed increasingly impatient. Mother is wise. This marriage proposal could not be better. Zhao girl, once you marry into their family, you'll be connected to royalty, and our marquis will. Aunt. I could no longer restrain myself. With such enthusiasm from you, why not allow my cousin to marry into the family? My aunt sprang up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Our Yuaner is only 14. Enough. Grandmother interjected sternly. Marriage is a matter of great importance, determined by the will of the parents and the matchmaker. It is no place for your interjection. The matron in charge of the princess's residence wore a serious expression, her tone imbued with an undeniable authority. Our second son is a paragon of virtue and talent. Countless young ladies harbor feelings for him. The princess has stated that if this union is realized, she will speak well of the Yongchang Marquis before the emperor. Upon hearing this, grandmother adopted a smile anew, asking the matron to convey to the princess that we would accept this match and select an auspicious day to formalize the engagement. I observed quietly, already plotting in my mind. Hearing this, I raised my head and smiled sweetly, since grandmother and father hold this match in such esteem. I shall naturally abide by the arrangements. As I spoke, I caught a glimpse of a satisfied smirk at the corner of grandmother's mouth, as if she could already envision the betrothal gifts from the princess's residence being delivered to the marquis's estate. Mississippi. Lingya, her eyes reddened, poured me tea, her voice quivering with emotion. Must you truly marry that devil? I offered no reply, merely gazing silently at the phoenix tree in the courtyard. Go fetch Granny Zhao. That night, the Yongchang Marquis's residence was enveloped in silence. I donned a simple robe of unadorned fabric, carefully wrapping my mother's jade seal, all the land deeds, and a few cherished trinkets in oiled paper, concealing them in a hidden pocket. Granny Zhao entered quietly, followed by Ling Ye and Xiaozhu, each carrying a cloth bundle. All is prepared, Granny Zhao whispered. The carriage is waiting at the alley's entrance. We shall leave the city directly. I took one last look at the courtyard where I had lived for 17 years. Let us go. As we passed through the corridor, I heard a fierce argument erupting from my father's study. Grandmother is confused. What manner of man is that second son of the princess? Who in the capital does not know? It was my elder brother's voice. If our third sister marries him, is it not akin to jumping into a pit of fire? What do you know? Father rebuked sharply. Our household is in dire straits, if we can ally with the princess. Father. My second brother unexpectedly interjected. Even if our house is in turmoil, we cannot sell our daughter. You wretched fools. Father's voice thundered. Who has provided for your education and lavish lifestyles? Now that our household is in trouble, instead of seeking to repay the favor, you. I could bear no more and turned, disappearing into the night. The moonlight, like water, illuminated the path ahead while also casting its glow upon the increasingly dilapidated Marquis's estate behind me. At the back gate, old Zhang was already waiting. Upon our arrival, she silently opened the small door, her eyes betraying a knowing look. Miss, take care. I slipped her a banknote, but she quickly waved her hands. No. No. Madam has treated this old servant with such kindness. Granny Zhao firmly pressed the note into her hands. Take it, and pretend you have never seen us. At the alley's entrance, an unremarkable blue cloth carriage awaited. The driver, a lean middle-aged man, leaped down from the yoke upon seeing us, bowing. Miss, my surname is Zhao. I am the driver from Jiyuan Trading Company. Madam instructed me to ensure you arrive safely in Lingnan. As the carriage passed through the city gates, I lifted the curtain, watching the towering walls of the capital recede into the distance. Granny Zhao offered me a cup of hot tea. Miss, have a sip to warm yourself. I accepted the cup, feeling the warmth seep through the porcelain to my fingertips. Granny Zhao, will mother truly not return? Granny Zhao spoke earnestly. Madam has her own path, and you have yours. The carriage sped along the official road, wheels kicking up dust, and I felt an unprecedented sense of tranquility and freedom within my heart. The sky is vast enough for birds to fly, the sea broad enough for fish to leap. Do not look back. Keep your gaze forward. The rainy season in Meizhou arrived unexpectedly. I stood by the window on the second floor of the trading house, peering through the rain curtain into the distance. Miss, a letter from the capital has arrived, Granny Zhao announced as she entered, her hair still damp from the rain. She handed me a letter sealed with wax, bearing the mark of Tonghui Bank. What does it say about the Marquis estate? Granny Zhao inquired, offering me a cup of hot tea. I placed the letter on the table. It is more intriguing than we imagined. The letter revealed that father, after repeated accusations from the censors, had finally been dismissed from his position. Concubine Su had absconded with the last of the family's funds during the estate's most difficult time, eloping with a spice merchant. My second aunt was embroiled in a dispute with uncle over the red willow, ultimately leading him to take a new wife. What of the eldest son? Granny Zhao asked. Elder brother. I gazed at the letter, noting how he had requested an official transfer to a minor county position. In just 3 short years, he had transformed a remote county into a thriving land of fish and rice. The letter also mentioned that after submitting a report to the Ministry of Personnel, father had angrily shattered a teacup, berating him for lacking ambition, yet he had merely bowed 3 times in silence before departing. He is a sensible man, Granny Zhao nodded. And the second young master? Second brother. I could not help but smile. He had left the capital for distant travels a year ago. Last month, a trading caravan returning from the western regions reported having seen him in Dunhuang, learning foreign dialects from a Hu merchant. As for grandmother, she succumbed to a winter illness last year and did not survive. It was said that she cursed mother on her deathbed, blaming her for the decline of the Marquis estate. How stubborn she was, Granny Zhao scoffed. Miss, will you not return to take a look? She gently asked.
Return?
I gazed out the window. The rain had ceased, and a rainbow arched gracefully over Miling. At the foot of the mountain, in my newly established herbal garden, several local women were laughing and gathering herbs. Further in the distance, merchant ships at the port were unloading cargo. The spices brought from the South Seas would soon be distributed across the nation. Seeing my demeanor, Granny Zhao said no more and simply placed a cup of freshly brewed tea beside me. The tea was clear, made from this year's new harvest from Meishan's mist. I took a sip, the fragrance refreshing and delightful. Granny Zhao, do you remember what mother said before she left? I do, she replied. She said, the sky is high and the earth wide. There is nowhere one cannot go. In the distance, the melodious sound of bells rang out. The merchant ships at the port were preparing to set sail once again. This time, I wished to explore the broader world that mother had once spoken of.
The end.
Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next story.